Imagine waking up in a world where humans never became Earth's dominant species. Not because we weren't intelligent, but because we never got the chance. 66 million years ago, the dinosaurs were wiped out by a massive asteroid impact. That single event allowed mammals to flourish, and millions of years later, humans appeared. But what if that never happened? What if the dinosaurs continued to rule the Earth, and the first humans evolved in the middle of their world? What would life actually have been like? Would we have survived at all? The answer is probably yes. But life would have been so different that it's almost impossible to imagine. First of all, forget everything you know about humans being at the top of the food chain. In this world, we would have been prey. An adult lion weighs around 190 kilograms, or about 420 pounds. A polar bear can weigh around 600 kilograms. An African elephant weighs roughly 6 tons. That sounds enormous. But many dinosaurs made the largest land animals alive today look small. The gigantic Argentinosaurus is estimated to have weighed somewhere between 60 and 80 tons. That's the equivalent of 13 African elephants. Standing next to a human, its hips would have been higher than the roof of an average house. Its head could have reached the height of a 4-story building. And despite all of that, it was a herbivore. That doesn't mean it was harmless. Quite the opposite. It probably wouldn't even notice if it stepped on you. 1 foot from a 70-ton animal would be all it takes. And the giant herbivores wouldn't have been the only problem. The predators were even worse. A fully grown Tyrannosaurus Rex could reach lengths of around 12 to 13 meters, or about 40 to 43 feet. It weighed as much as 9 tons. Its head alone was nearly the size of an adult human. Scientists believe its bite was the most powerful ever produced by a land animal, strong enough to crush bone, literally. If an animal like that spotted you, there would really be only one strategy: hope it never decided to chase. But perhaps the giant dinosaurs aren't the ones you should fear the most. Just like on the African savanna today, it's rarely the elephants that kill the most people. It's the predators. Smaller, faster, smarter. Dinosaurs like Deinonychus and Velociraptor were nothing like the towering monsters Hollywood often portrays. In reality, Velociraptor was only about the size of a turkey, but it was fast, armed with razor-sharp claws, and there's growing evidence that many smaller predatory dinosaurs were highly intelligent, active hunters. Those are the animals our ancestors would most likely have encountered on a daily basis. Not a T-Rex, but something much smaller and much harder to spot. Then there were the insects. When dinosaurs ruled the Earth, oxygen levels during most of the late Cretaceous were actually fairly similar to today's. That means you wouldn't have encountered dragonflies the size of eagles. Those existed much earlier, during the Carboniferous period, but that doesn't mean insects would have been a minor problem. Far from it. Without insect repellent, without mosquito nets, without modern medicine, mosquitoes, ticks, horseflies, and parasites would have been a constant nightmare. Every night, every day, every cut could become infected. Every bite could carry disease. And while you were trying to sleep, the sound of millions of insects would have been deafening. It's easy to assume that dinosaurs would have been humanity's greatest enemy, but the truth is, nature itself might have been even more dangerous. So how does an animal survive when it isn't the strongest, the fastest, or the deadliest? The simple answer is that humans would never have tried to fight the dinosaurs. Just like our real ancestors, we would have done everything possible to avoid a confrontation. Because the truth is, humans are strange animals. We have no claws, no venom, no natural armor. We run slower than most predators, and we're weaker than nearly every large herbivore. Yet somehow our ancestors survived alongside lions, hyenas, saber-toothed cats, and giant bears. Not through strength, but through intelligence. The same would have been true in a world ruled by dinosaurs. The first rule would have been simple: see them before they see you. In Africa today, many animals freeze the moment the birds suddenly go silent, because silence often means a predator is nearby. The exact same thing would almost certainly have been true during the age of dinosaurs. Humans would have learned to read nature itself, not just tracks, but sounds, scents, and behavior. A herd of small herbivores suddenly sprinting in the same direction means something is hunting. It doesn't matter whether you can see the predator. You run anyway. Then there's the wind, something our ancestors already understood when they hunted. If the wind was blowing the wrong way, an animal could detect a human's scent from hundreds of meters away, and some dinosaurs are believed to have had an exceptionally powerful sense of smell. In fact, many paleontologists believe that Tyrannosaurus Rex could detect scents from several kilometers away, much like modern vultures and some large predators. If that's true, the direction of the wind could have been the difference between life and death. Then there's the question of food. Even though dinosaurs are the first thing that comes to mind, they wouldn't actually have been very important from a human survival perspective. They were simply too large, too dangerous, and far too costly to hunt. Instead, humans would have lived much like our real ancestors did. They would have fished, gathered fruit, dug up edible roots, collected eggs, caught lizards, eaten insects, and hunted small mammals. Many people are surprised to hear that, but mammals already existed during the age of dinosaurs. They were tiny, often no larger than mice or rats. They survived by hiding among roots, fallen logs, and dense vegetation, staying out of the dinosaurs' way. For humans, they would have been an excellent source of protein, but perhaps humanity's greatest resource would have been rivers. Water attracts life: fish, shellfish, small reptiles, amphibians, fruit-bearing plants, and countless animals coming to drink. Then there's fire. It's almost impossible to overstate how important it would have been. Fire wouldn't have made humans the strongest creatures on Earth, but it would have made survival possible. Even today, many smaller predators instinctively avoid fire. Its light allows people to stay awake longer, cook food, dry their clothes, and most importantly, stay together. Because humans were never meant to survive alone. We survived as groups, and that's where humanity's true superpower comes in: cooperation. No other species on Earth cooperates quite the way humans do. We share food, we plan, we learn from one another, we care for the injured, we build, we communicate. A lone human would have been easy prey, but 20 humans armed with spears, fire, and a plan are something entirely different. They still wouldn't have been able to defeat a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but they could have avoided one, and sometimes that's all it takes. Which leads to an interesting question. If humans really managed to survive, would we ever have evolved into the species we are today? Or would the dinosaurs have held us back forever? Because surviving and building a civilization are two very different things. So, what do you think? Would humans have survived and eventually thrived alongside the dinosaurs?